Alien Earth is it's a little bit different from what I was expecting. I was expecting aliens to show up. They were going to start tearing people up. The colonial marines were going to come in and there was going to be a shootout. A scientist would be like, oh no, we've done something wrong. And then they'd find out that there was a traitor doing something else. And one of the robots would go wacky. That's essentially the formula for a good alien movie. But what we got is something different. So there's a ship. There's a Weyland-Yutani ship that's coming to Earth. It's been out for a long time. It's been out for so long that Weyland-Yutani no longer exists. It's just Yutani. And the gentleman that's in charge of the ship is a guy named Morrow. And Morrow's a cyborg. He's got part human, part robotic parts. There's 3 different types of synthetic people. There are cyborgs, which are humans that have been given robotic parts. There are synths, like synthetic, which are the robots. Like think about the Vision from Marvel Comics and Marvel movies. He is called a synthezoid, meaning he's part human. He's not even part human. He's a robot that believes he is human. He has all of the mannerisms and he acts like a human, the whole 9 yards. He is an artificial man that really acts human. In fact, he eventually has a wife and kids. And then there are the hybrids. The hybrids are a little confusing to me. The hybrids, a guy called Boy Cavalier, the one they call the boy genius, the youngest trillionaire in Earth history, has created a way, or his people have created a way, that he can take a human and put them inside of a robot or a robotic body. And the bodies, of course, are stronger, faster, more durable than a human. But they didn't really explain it because they're not taking like the brain out and putting the brain into a robot. They've got tubes and everything, and the lights are going on. And I think what they're doing is basically copying brain patterns, which again would go back to the Vision. The Vision in the comic books had a copy of a guy named Wonder Man's brain patterns, and they put that in the robot now in the Vision. Now in the movie, it was Jarvis, the Tony Stark's robot, or his AI was ushered off into the Vision. But either way, there was a consciousness that was recorded and placed inside of it. I think that's what they're doing here, because or they figured out that there is in fact a soul, and they're able to capture it and move it from one place to another. So they've taken the souls out of these children and put them in these robots, which, even though, it's you got to suspend belief with this stuff, that's a little bit more hard to believe than it is that they just replicated the brain patterns of someone and put it in a robot, which would mean that you're still dead. So if they took me and they said, we're going to put your essence into a robot, okay, then that just means the robot's going to act like me. But I'm still going to die. It's cool for the people around me because they'll be like, well, he's still alive. But I'm not. I'm dead. My body is gone. My mind, soul, spirit is gone. My mana, my chi, all of that, it's gone, man. And you've got a robot that acts like me because it has a duplicate of my brain patterns. I think that's what it is. Or else they would have had a surgery where they cut the head out. You see them pulling the brain up, the brain gets stuck in it. Which they say that the kids are forever children, so they're never going to die. So even if they did put a human brain in there, eventually the brain's going to die, and they wouldn't live. So they're just moving a pattern. So the people, the kids that they're moving, one girl says, well, she can't walk right now before they move her into the robot body. And she says, will I be able to walk again? And I'm thinking to myself, nah, the robot will be able to walk. The robot will think it's you, but you're dead, man. You're going to be dead. And they intensify that fact that I have that theory because all of the children, including the first one who calls herself Wendy, we'll get back to that, all of the children, when they're placed on the table next to their robot recreation, all of them have a flower on their chest, which is one of the universal symbols of a journey to the afterlife. So they're all sitting there with the flower on their chest, and they're laying there, and they close their eyes, and when they open their eyes, they're a robot. They're not going to live forever. The robot thinks it's them, but they're dead. You got Jackie. Jackie thinks that he's going to live forever. They put a copy of his brain in a robot. Jackie's gone. Poof. He's no longer with us. The robot just thinks like Jackie and thinks it is Jackie. In fact, there's a part, Timothy Oliphant is in this, and he plays a guy called Kirsch. Kirsch is a synthetic. He's a robot guy. And when they're talking to Wendy, the prime hybrid, they're talking to her, and someone's talking about her emotions, how to try to get in touch with her emotions. And he looks at him and says, we've had this conversation. She's not human. Why are you talking to her like she is? He understands that they're not human. He understands that they're robotic, just pretending to be human. There's a couple of instances where they say that the alien and the Predator universes are combined, but they're also, over the last few years, been hinting that, well, since the beginning really, they've been hinting that the Blade Runner series is also part of this same universe. And in the Blade Runner series, the synths, the robots, think that they're human. They kind of know they're robots, but they think they're human. And they want to live. But they have to send a Blade Runner out there to go give them finger across the throat action. I could see how this is the same universe because Kirsch realizes he's a synthetic, but he also thinks that he's better than the humans. You can tell that deep down, he's got a little bit of disdain for them. He even tells a person, when they're talking, he's talking to a human and says, you guys just used to be food. Things would eat you. And then one day you stopped being food. But there's always something out there that's bigger and stronger and scarier than you are. So he's as a person sitting on the couch watching it, your first thought is, oh, he's talking about the aliens. But if you look deeper, you look into that dude's eyes, he's talking about himself. He's talking about the robots. So the ship comes, and the Weyland-Yutani ship is carrying 5 different dangerous species. Now, they make a point of saying that there's 5 different species, but they don't really say how many of each species there is. There could be species A that's only got one thing. There could be species, B, and it could be 20 of those. Species C could have like 7 different versions, 7 different, aliens that are considered, C. There's 5 different aliens, but who knows how many there are in total, you know? So there's at least a few of the xenomorphs now because they've taken some bodies, and there's more of them. And Morrow, he's really the cause of all of this. Well, Weyland-Yutani is the cause because they're bringing this crap to Earth. But Morrow has an opportunity to stop it, and he doesn't. And then later, Morrow's a bad guy. There's a guy on the ship that's acting weird, and he's supposed to be a synth. He's supposed to be a robot. Now, from seeing the different ones, even if only for a short time, just about all of the robots turned evil. Even the one that was like the little baby brother, for a little while, they switched his chip. And that fool was crazy too. When he got the actual orders from Weyland-Yutani, that dude went nuts. And then they take the chip out and he becomes good again. But all of them. So you're expecting the one synthezoid that's there, the one synth, you expect him to be a nut. And he's kind of acting like he might be a nut. But when the show comes on, it gives you real quick flashes of things that either are about to happen, going to happen, or have just happened. They're important, real quick, 1-second flashes of different things. And the synthezoid is screaming, which I don't know why he's doing that, because unless he is under attack and he thinks he's human, so he thinks he should scream, but he doesn't have like a nervous system, so he's not in pain. Even if he gets torn in half, he ain't in pain. He's just, we saw in the original one that the original guy got his head torn off. The original synthezoid in the first movie, and he was still, looking at people and talking to people and everything, and they get ripped in half. They don't never scream, but I don't know why he was screaming, But he was screaming. And Morrow, I think Morrow and Kirsch are the real villains, the real monsters of this series, because both of them have agendas that seem nefarious. They've got nefarious agendas, and I don't know, man. They're setting this whole thing up so that you can see that the hybrids, the synths, and the cyborgs are way more powerful than a regular human walking down the street. Stronger, faster, more durable. And these two guys, Morrow and Kirsch, are both, they're not on the same side, but they're probably on each other's side. They're probably going to team up because they're both robotic-ish things. But the ship lands, crash lands, and some of the containers open or are damaged or are opened, and they get out. A lot of the specimens get out. They send a group. Boy Cavalier sends a group to investigate, and it reminded me, the group was search and rescue, and they're a lot like the Colonial Marines. They wear the same type of helmets. They got big, they got the guns and everything. They looked a lot like the Colonial Marines. But calling them search and rescue, and the way that they acted, they had scientists with them. They had, troops with them. It was basically the Marine Corps and the EMPs combined together. And that reminded me of a show a long time ago called Ultraman, where they had the science, what they call the science police, the science investigation team, and they were scientists, but they were also the military, and they would go in and they would check stuff out. Long time, when I was a little kid, that came out, and I think that's where they got the inspiration for this. My own thoughts. That might not be right. That could be wrong. But my thoughts, that seem like where they got this from. Now in DC Comics, they also have a thing called the Science Police, but it reminded me of that. And one of the big angles that they're going with is Boy Cavalier, the richest, the youngest trillionaire in history, considers himself like Peter Pan. And these children, he says that he has to use children because an adult's mind would not work. But I kind of wonder if he's a hybrid also. He's got this technology which will allow you to live forever. He thinks he's Peter Pan. Peter Pan essentially will live forever. I'm wondering if he's already done it to himself, and we're going to find that out later. But somebody attacks him, then they find out that he's super strong, or they stab him and he doesn't die and he like giggles or something because he's not real. I think something like that is going to happen. But he creates these teams and he calls them, of these little kids that he puts in the robots, and he calls them the Lost Boys. Just like Peter Pan. And they all get new names. You know, your name's Fred, you get a new body, you can change your name. Wendy is the name chosen by the young lady who becomes the first hybrid. One of them, I looked at his name and I thought it was Simi, like, you know, Coming to America. But after getting the whole Lost Boys and Peter Pan, I think it's Smee. I think I read it wrong. It was on his shirt. Smee is the name of Captain Hook's right-hand man. So it's more Peter Pan stuff. The kids have a debate of if they can die because they're now in robot bodies. And they're like, nah, we can't die. We're going to live forever. And again, that just lets me know it's not like their brain is put into the robot, because your brain would die after, you know, decades, it would die, but they're not going to. So I think that these are just robots that have human brain patterns. They think that they're robots, like what do they call the replicas from Blade Runner? You know, they're replicating human thoughts, replicating human movements and gestures and mannerisms. They're impersonating it. They're cosplaying humans. And since they got their brain patterns when these were kids, all of them still act like children. They're full-grown adults, but they giggle and they fall down and they make, you know, fart noises and stuff like that. He's supposed to keep a secret, and he immediately tells the secret. They're still children. So children with superhuman powers fighting monsters. And they don't even call them aliens. The dude's like, these are monsters. Yeah, they're space monsters. You know, aliens are space monsters. So the show's good. I mean, it's got a really good pacing. It's got a good story. It's a little different from what we've gotten before, and it's the type of thing that they can build on and make more. They can take this into another season, and it's only the first 2 episodes. They could take this to another season, or they could even take this and go back into the movies. You know, Kirsch could be the villain of another movie. Morrow is definitely going to do some stuff that's going to put everybody in jeopardy. He's already doing stuff to putting people in jeopardy. So I can't wait to see what happens next. It's a good movie. It's a good concept. I enjoy it. But enjoy Alien Earth so much that I would give it 8 bags of popcorn. 8 bags of popcorn. Because that's what I think about that. More importantly, what do you think about that? Now that you had a chance to look at the video, let's talk about it some more in the comments. And as always, if you like the video, if you like the content, subscribe. And then like.